Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 2 in a best of 3 between YppY and Fussel, and this is round 2 of the Great Paradox Tourney. So today we are moving on from the last game where YppY defeated Fussel. Fussel unfortunately disconnecting from that game, but YppY had a significant lead at that moment, so the game was credited to him. But so this time round, Fussel will be looking for revenge, hopefully not disconnecting again and finding himself a victory so that he can move on to the third game and possibly find his way into round 3 of the Great Paradox Tourney. But YppY only has to win one more and he will make it. So, Carpiquet Duellists is the map we are going to be seeing today. This is, I think, the third time that we've seen it in the tournament so far. And this matchup is exactly the same as one we've seen before as well. So a swap of factions, Fussel going to be playing with the 15th Infantry Scots and YppY with the 21st Panzer. And yeah, I think this is definitely something that we've seen before. Either way, it's going to come down to whether or not YppY can use his S307 packs in Phase A to kill Fussel's Churchill 5s. And whether or not the Churchill 5s of Fussel can make a lot of ground early on. Because I feel like the later into the game it gets, YppY should, come back quite hard or solidify his lead, depending on what position he's in. Like with the King Tigers coming out, it's going to be quite hard to deal with them in an open field map like this. And we have seen it dealt with before by using smoke and 17 pounders, but if it's played around correctly, the King Tiger should never die. It should just remain in the smoke, maybe even your own smoke. Like YppY could bring in units that provide smoke, and then he would be absolutely fine. Especially things like the Ryanwerfer, which have the multiple grenade launchers and can just create a massive smoke wall like pretty much instantly. It's very, very awesome when you do that with those units. But let's see some of the units coming down from YppY. We have the S307 pack in the bottom here with the U304 with Panzergrenz and a recon unit, most likely Spähtrupp. Then we have 2 units of Panzergrenz in the mid with another Spähtrupp and another Spähtrupp with the Panzergrenz and S307 pack. So pretty standard setup for YppY, although I am quite surprised not to see the Panzerhaubitze come out, which is the 1200 meter range HE support gun that the 21st Panzer can now get after the latest DLC. Over on the side of Fussel, looks like we're just going to have either rifles or Bren Group come down, although I don't really see Bren Group anymore, so I'd be very surprised to see those come out. But command carrier there with the 6-pounder. We have Churchill 5 in the top side, which is to be expected. There's also a Honey Stuart coming down alongside another 6-pounder and the MMG carrier there with recon. So I'm just going to speed up the deployment, and there is a couple more units coming down for Fussel. We see the rifles here, and they are going to be accompanied by a command carrier as well. So awesome stuff. It seems like pretty standard deployment across the board, with both players focusing on the top and bottom side in order to make ground, as often trying to push across the airfield from the beginning of the game can lead to devastation. However, it's important not to neglect the center of the map, because if you can get an infantry unit into some of these bushes on the runway, then you can get a lot of territory from doing that, because often either players will leave units in these hangars either side of the airfield and not actually put anything on the airfield. And with things on the airfield, you can affect the front line a lot more, which can lead to a significant +1 lead. So off we go. A solid 5-minute deployment there. Both players taking their sweet time, but we have the convoys heading off, and that is quite a concentration of forces up here, especially considering all that Fussel's going to be up against is the Panzergren, 1 S307 pack, and the recon. So we'll have to see how this pans out. The issue with that YppY has is his infantry does cost quite a significant amount more due to it being Panzergrenz in half tracks, and these half tracks are like an extra 10 points on top of the already expensive Panzergrenz units. We're coming up to engagement range now. Speed Troop have been dropped out. Let's see what YppY can see. If he can see this sort of convoy coming, it might give him a bit of a heads up with the S307 packed in order to get that into position. So yeah, definitely plenty of units on their way, and he can see them and is instantly going to reinforce with a Brumbar. So very, very nice by YppY to just react to that straight away. He saw a large concentration of forces. So Bren Group are going to be used. Is there Bren Group anywhere else? We have a Bren Group here. These are Bren Group as well. That's very surprising. The reason I say that is because, you know, rifles are just so much better in that they have more strength and they are just great for taking on enemy units. Like, look at the HE value difference between a Bren Group and a rifles. So Bren Group have 4 HE. The rifles at close range have 8 HE and at long range have 4 HE. So they pretty much do what the Bren Group do at max range, but are also good at close range. And I guess it kind of makes sense to use the Bren Group because you're mostly going to be engaging at long range. But again, the health is just a big issue. Like only having like 5 men in a squad rather than 10 men. It's going to be very hard to push off that. I think we'll find as soon as that Brumbar arrives, these Bren Group are going to get annihilated very quickly. But these Spear Troop did open up with their MG34, and that is a big mistake. Honey Stewart going to be pinning that down very quickly. Should have been on return fire really, so that other units could have come in here and helped out. But yeah, the Brumbar is on its way. Going to take its sweet time. Only has 60 km/h on road speed, so yeah, takes quite a while to move to the front line. But 27 HE is quite a lot. 1,000 meter range. It's not really going to be stopped by much either. The 6-pounder is going to have trouble penetrating it from max range. The Churchill 5 really can't do much morale damage to it. So a Brumbar is actually a really, really good choice in this position. So Panzergrenz and the U304 advancing towards these Bren Group. Bren Group really not doing too much to the Panzergrenz in return. These Panzergrenz have 9 HE compared to the Bren Group's 4. So even in cover, the Bren Group, you know, is kind of trading evenly with morale here. Slightly more morale damage to the Panzergrenz again because they're in the open, but I mean honestly, Bren Group, it's like just throwing a wet flannel at someone. Brumbars come up either way, and that will be able to help deal with these Bren Group that are running down the Spear Troop. Just got a fine line of sight. That's what he's got to look for there. But he can start fire positioning that very soon into these tree lines. And we can see 2 U304s accompanying Panzer Grenadiers as they push across the open here. And this has given the +1 to YppY early on, after Fussel had it at the very beginning of the game. So Brumbar opening up, takes the Bren Group down to 3 health already. The only saving grace that Fussel has against his Brumbar is that it takes an absolute age to reload. But these Panzergrenz advancing in the middle here is quite important, and we also see the Panzerhaubitze coming in now with the 15 HE power at 1200 meter range. So that will help clean up the Bren Group very easily. U304 is probably looking for the surrender onto these Bren Group, and we're now seeing these Panzergrenz and the and the half track pin down the Bren Group in the open. Now these Panzergrenz have taken quite a lot of damage. That must be mainly due to this 3-star command carrier actually being accurate. There is a Honey on the way. That's interesting. We'll have to wait and see if YppY can engage that with his S307 pack. U304 did find the fast move. Can he get the surrender? Because if he can, that's going to open up a lot of territory. One of the Bren Group, very low on health. Brumbar is being fire positioned, I believe, towards these Recce, because he doesn't have direct line of sight there. But taking out that recon squad will be very important, actually. That would blind Fussel entirely on this top side.
Take cover, Lieutenant.
Okay, let's see what he can see now. It's probably about the same. I guess it's mainly due to the fact that these are all vehicles that are sitting in the open. But if that recon was actually spotting anything like infantry down in these trees, then it would no longer be doing that. Let's jump back to the neutral perspective as we see the U304 making a massive breakthrough down here. The Honey, however, killing off one of the half-tracks on the bottom side. And the U304 on the airfield also just got taken out by either the 6-pounder or the Churchill 5 there. I'm not sure the 6-pounder was in range. I think it must have been the Churchill 5 hitting a HE shell into that half-track. Panzergrenz are going to still try and make some ground, however, and these Panzergrenz very close to actually getting into these hangars, which will, you know, solidify the lead that Fussel has here. And this 6-pounder did just wreck Befehl Panzer 35, and that is a pretty big deal actually up here, because it looks like he was trying to use that Befehl Panzer 35 to kill the Honey, and then after that engagement he could have gone ahead and killed off the command carriers and the MMG carriers. There is still the S307 pack up here, but it's a lot less versatile. It's going to rely solely on killing the Honey and so on. But the Brummbach still slamming those Bren group. Panzerhaubitze is also attacking some Bren group on the bottom side. Panzer Grenadiers on the airfield currently being killed off by the Churchill 5. S307 pack has found line of sight onto the Churchill. Gets the kill. One shot, one kill. Very, very nice indeed for YppY. That's pretty lucky, honestly. But fantastic job indeed. Spitfire Mark 9 probably going to be coming down for a strafing run onto the S307 pack. And that might allow the Honey to go for an engagement on this bottom side. The Brummbach firing away. Looks like currently engaging the Honey. S307 pack has got into a position though to one shot, one kill that Honey Stuart. S307 pack does have 6 accuracy, so it's not unlikely that you will get a one shot, one kill, but it's still uncommon, I guess. The Panzerhaubitze are going to be killing off the Bren group down here. The U304 that was causing the big old salient has been killed, so that's going to take things back to 52% territory. But the important point is that YppY is still in the lead. 315 points to his name right now. Brummbach likely to finish off these Bren group very shortly. It's just amazing, like the anticipation for that thing to fire. Has a fire position command towards this 6-pounder. Alright, double Spitfire now. Just going to be trying to force back the units in the open. And targeting the Panzerhaubitze is actually a pretty decent idea, especially with the incoming Panzer Grenadiers. Because without the support of the Panzerhaubitze, this 6-pounder could easily kill off the Befehl Panzer 35. And then that would leave the Honey to run down the Panzergrenz, although it looks like the Honey is just going to win that engagement anyway. Panzergrenz, however, did take out the Honey that moved towards the hangar, and that is just opening up a lot of ground again. +1, 56% territory lead for YppY. Is that going to go to 58%? A +2 would be crazy at this point in the game. Definitely lead to a big advantage for YppY early on. But not quite 58%. The Brummbach surely going to finish off these Bren group at some point. Nope. Still going for the fire position. Really wants to find this 6-pounder, which makes sense. It's a 3-star 6-pounder, which does have penetration at the 800-meter range that it will be firing at. SBW222 has been brought in. S307 pack is not quite in range. I was kind of scared that it was. It is engaging the Churchill 5 though. Can the S307 pack find the kill? It probably has one more shot before the Churchill reverses out of range. It finds it. Third shot, gets the kill. Fantastic job by YppY with these S307 packs. They've really paid off so far. Looks like the Brumbar did find the shot onto the 6-pounder and pretty much pinned that down instantly. SBW222 now charging forwards. However, there is the rifle leader in the way, which does have the Piat. However, this is relying on a Piat actually hitting something, and that may definitely not be the case. Okay, so he stopped it next to the rifle leader, and that's just going to cause the SBW222 to surrender. However, he's revealed this infantry now, which allows him to either fire position that or just kill them straight up with the Brumbar. Panzerhaubitze is killing the rifles that are approaching the Panzergrenz, and these Panzergrenz have definitely done a lot of work in this game. Not only getting all the way across the airfield, but taking out the Honey was very important, and now are helping pin down 2 units of rifles. Honey on this bottom side is currently sitting behind this tree line. That could definitely cause some issues for the Befehl Panzer 35 or the Panzer IV C should they come into line of sight. Gonna have to keep an eye on that, because this Honey does have a very good aiming time. Looks like the Befehl Panzer 35 just going to be firing at those rifles as they get killed by the Panzerhaubitze. Brumbar still making ground on the top side. Now, you never used to be able to bring in Brumbars in Phase A, but yeah, since the update, you now can, and in this game, being used to great effect. 2 2-star Focke-Wulf 190 A8s coming out though, and those should be able to deal quite nicely with these unvetted Spitfire Mark 9s. This Focke-Wulf 190 going to be shooting down that Spitfire very quickly. I'm pretty sure this Focke-Wulf 190 will be able to get onto the back of this Spitfire as well, although it was evac'd quite quickly, but not quick enough. 2 Spitfires down, gaining air superiority for YppY. The Honey was killed off down here by the Befehl Panzer 35. However, a 17-pounder, 2-star 17-pounder has arrived that is going to have no troubles killing off a Befehl Panzer 35. Bidtroop running towards these Bren group. They've got a little bit of help from the Panzerhaubitze, but a +2 now for YppY in this game. That is a very big deal. And we have in the top side, Panzergrenz continuing to engage the rifles here. Brumbar might kill off the MMG carrier. That's 27 HE after all. Very good chance of actually getting that kill. Bren group going to try and run away from this engagement. All that's going to do is give the ground to YppY as he advances with his Panzergrenz, and it's only going to be a matter of time until he finds the rifle leader here as well, and that will open up a large amount of ground on the very bottom. Panzer IV C going to be engaging the 17-pounder at close range, and my god, the 17-pounder, 2-star 17-pounder missed the Panzerhaubitze with its first shot and ended up getting itself pinned down. That is massive. That is such a big deal. Like, I kind of expected that 17-pounder never to miss anything. But we do see a 17-pounder pick up a kill onto the S307 pack on the top side. Crazy stuff. This 17-pounder still alive. It hasn't been ran down by the Panzer IV just yet. It's managing to fall back just out of line of sight. And now if the Panzer IV C comes into line of sight, it might just get itself killed. Now, the Panzergrenz down here, I'm not entirely sure what happened to them, but they are now dead and are not making ground anymore towards the rifle leader. Did they get pinned down or something in the open and then just get surrendered? It must have happened, something like that. I don't even know. Very strange indeed. Another Focke-Wulf 190 A8 coming about, and that's going to be starting to go for the strafing run onto the 17-pounder. And with that pinned, well, the Panzer IV can now roll around the corner and go for the kill. Now, the Panzer IV C does have the 9HE main gun, so can definitely do a lot of damage, and as soon as he gets the machine guns on target anyway, should be able to do the job by keeping that 17-pounder pinned down. Panzerhaubitze, will it find the last shot? No, it won't. Again, guys, sorry about the seagulls. Taking over my recording once again. Just want to be heard. Focke-Wulf 190 and two Focke-Wulf 190 A8s coming in to pin down the Tripolston. That's going to allow those Focke-Wulf 190s now to pin down the 17-pounders as well, although the Panzer Grenadiers almost had that done on their own. Brummbär rolling forwards, trying to find the range. 1,000 meter range though is a long way off. And that 17-pounder will most likely start to fall back. But a +2 still for YppY, 63% territory lead. Panzer IV C trying to make ground as much as it can before this Churchill arrives to spoil his day. Now, the Panzerhaubitze does have a decent chance of penetrating the Churchill 6, but it's got to find one of its 6 AP shells on target with 4 accuracy, which isn't something that happens very often. We do see a driver knocked out for this Brummbär, but I think it's pretty much still aligned onto the 6-pounder, so the shooter will be able to still fire, and that is a dead 6-pounder right there. Spitfire Mark 9 brought in to try and deal with the Focke-Wulf 190, especially as the Tripolston recovers from its morale damage. But the Focke-Wulf 190 just picking up the kill there before it gets forced back, and the Spitfire is not going to be fast enough to catch up, surely. So that Focke-Wulf 190 A8 is going to get away with that as well. Wow. Crazy stuff indeed. Brummbär does get a weapon damage from the 17-pounder. That is no longer pinned down, so it's only a matter of time until that 17-pounder picks up the kill onto the Brummbär. But that won't affect the front line, as the Panzer Grenadiers still stand in the way. I can't believe this rifle leader is still alive. 2 units of Panzergrens now coming in to attack this tree line. SG07 pack taking a little bit of harassment. Oh, one strafing run from the Focke-Wulf 190 A8 kills off the Spitfire. Fantastic job. These Focke-Wulf 190 A8 certainly are potent. I'll give you that much. 10 HE on target, 2-star veterancy. Gonna do the job every time. However, in the mid here, we are starting to see the front line fall apart. Panzergrens, if they die, then that will open up a nice salient for Fussel. Then what Fussel has to do is try and clear up the units in the top side, and once he's done that, you know, look how much space there is here for Fussel to move through. However, currently still a +2 for YppY, and it's going to remain that way as long as Fussel doesn't push. And currently he will probably be very hesitant to do so, as it's very likely that YppY would reinforce its top side with like an AT gun, which is exactly what we're going to be seeing here. I think that's a Pak 43 coming in. Yes, it is. So that will definitely stop any push coming out from the Churchill 5 and the 17-pounder. Although with some good micro, the Churchill 5 could fire position the Pak 43 from max range and yeah, find a kill eventually. But Panzer Grenadiers have eventually killed off the command unit in the bottom side, and that's going to secure that territory for YppY. It's just a matter of getting his recon into a good position to spot any reinforcements on their way and reacting appropriately. In the middle of the map, S307 pack goes down. A lot of ground swinging back in favour of Fussel, and Fussel's managed to bring it back to a +1. Aufklärer have been found on this top side, which is very important as well, and it's only going to be a matter of time until an infantry unit makes these Panzergrens reveal themselves, and then they will probably die as well. So it looks like Fussel really recovering at the moment very, very nicely. Just has to continue with his Churchill fire support, especially maybe bringing in another Churchill 5 to continue the 1,200 meter range engagements. It's really going to come down to whether or not this Pak 43 from YppY can hit the Churchill 5 either one shot, one kill, or just make it to the point where the Churchill 5 gets forced to fall back. And if that's the case, then this push will fall apart, because the Pak 43 will then likely kill the 17-pounder, and you know, there isn't going to be much support there in order to help the rifles move forwards. So the Pak 43 has been unloaded. That's probably going to have an attack move order forwards to the point where it gets into line of sight of the Churchill 5. One of the Panzergrenadiers in the mid was killed off by the 17-pounder there, and the Pak 43 has now been brought into the bottom as well. So that's going to be engaging the Tripolston, takes it out in 2 shots. That is not a very nice loss for Fussel there. Panzergrenadiers and Panzergrenadier still pushing on the bottom side, supported by the Panzerbitzer, although currently doesn't have a great line of sight due to being behind the bunkers there. These Panzergrenadiers still trying to make ground, but straight into a Churchill 6. And the Panzergrenadiers have died on the top side, so now it's going to come down to this engagement. If the Pak 43 can kill the Churchill 5, it's going to be in a very good position. If the Pak 43 dies, he's going to be in a very bad position. So this is very important right now. Can this Pak 43 do the job it needs to? Currently still attack moving towards the Churchill 5. Multiple Focke-Wulf 190s coming down onto the MG carrier, just get rid of that. And that will allow the Pak 43 to move forwards and possibly engage the Churchill 5 unhindered. Looks like YppY might be going for the shot onto the 17-pounder. No, takes out the MG carrier. Okay, well that's a start. But that will reveal the position of this Pak 43. And if now Fussel micros the Churchill 5 effectively, he could pin down this Pak 43 as well as this one at the same time. But this is where I was saying another Churchill 5 would come in really handy, because then he can have one for each of these Pak 43s. Currently, 17-pounder rolling right on into the face of these Panzergrenadiers. Not entirely convinced about that. Big micro mistake there from Fussel. Looking a bit rusty. 17-pounder not surrendering though. Pak 43, both of them have line of sight. This one's going to be firing at the Churchill 5 any second. Forces it to fall back. That's a start. Won't be quite finding the kill just yet. But 17-pounder, yeah, not surrendering. Interesting indeed. But the Stuart definitely not fending very well as it gets slammed by the Panzerfaust there. So with this overwhelming air support, YppY can pretty much strafe any infantry unit he likes. Especially with the kill onto one of the Tripolstons. Like this infantry engagement on the top side here, these Panzergrenadiers as they continue to move forwards, like Focke-Wulf 190s can just come in and strafe these guys. Now one thing YppY has to be careful of is these guys being low on fuel, and that's exactly what Fussel was trying to take advantage of here with his Spitfire coming in. But YppY not going to fall for that. Churchill 6 did go down to the Pak 43 at the bottom side of the airfield here, and we see the Panzergrenadiers now engaging the 17-pounder, although the Pak 43 is going to finish that off before it gets pinned down by this 2-star Spitfire. In the top, Pak 43 providing fire support for the Panzergren. Now 4 HE is actually a reasonable amount for attacking these units, and does pin them down very quickly. These Panzergrens, can they even be seen by Fussel? They can't. Okay, so let's look at this, guys. Panzergrens quite literally sitting out in the open over here. This Churchill 6 cannot see them. And there's no like breaking line of sight there. That's how important recon is. As soon as this Humber Mark III arrives with the recon dropout, he's going to spot that infantry. There they are. And he's probably going to start wondering how he missed them. One Panzergren squad's gone down there though, and Panzergrenadier not doing well. However, still a +2 for YppY at the moment. Especially with this double surrender on the top side. That's going to be the rifle squad and the command squad going down with the help of the Pak 43. It's just really, really hard at the moment for Fussel to come back in this game. Like it definitely looked like he could have with the Churchill 5s. Like if he'd brought in a second Churchill 5 and dealt with both of the Pak 43s at the same time, he would have been in a decent position. However, now it's too late. King Tiger has arrived, pops the Churchill 5, and it's just going to make it incredibly hard from now on. So yeah, the Panzergrenadier didn't make any command units surrender. It was just a rifle squad. I thought this was a command squad, but it's actually just the recon. And it doesn't, you know, obviously give any frontline presence there, so the Panzergren making a lot of ground for the team. These Panzergrens and Panzergrenführer are still being hammered by the Bofors. Panzer 39 Haubitze. This is just going to have to get out of line of sight, the Churchill 6. And now it's just a matter of time before this Königsdeiger starts approaching on Fussel's lines. And you can see Fussel just like run away with everything he's got. He does not want to be on this airfield right now as that King Tiger approaches. And honestly, you know, with that happening, YppY doesn't even have to it doesn't need to be this aggressive. He can quite simply sit back and wait for the victory, especially with a +2 lead. He has a total victory in 5 minutes, so not long at all. Panzergrens are rolling on up here. Will they run straight past these Recce, I wonder? Who knows? It depends if they get spotted or not, because the Recce can engage, but they're holding fire. I don't think they're going to be spotted, so the Panzergren's just going to run on past those Recce. An 88 is arriving on the top side, but it looks like Fussel surrenders. And after 26 minutes and 45 seconds, Fussel did not see a way back into this game, and neither did I, to be fair. So YppY is going to be victorious, and we'll move on to round 3 in the Great Paradox Tourney. Fantastic job by YppY in this game with the 21st Panzer. 2,055 kills to 1,305 losses. Pretty crazy indeed. The kills for the 15th Infantry Scots is going to be the Honeys picking up the Befehl Panzer 35 there. We saw a 6-pounder take out one as well. This 6-pounder took out the Panzer 4C. The 17-pounders did come out and start to clean up a little bit, which is when Fussel kind of had a chance to start to bring things back. But he needed another Churchill 5. I'm really surprised to have only seen like one throughout the entire game. That was very, very odd, in my opinion. More Churchill 5s, especially on that kind of map, would have worked out very well against those Pak 43s in the later game. And yeah, without enough pressure being put on, you know, YppY could like afford that King Tiger, and it just made things impossible for Fussel, leading to the surrender. Now, in terms of losses, well, the Brummbär managed to take out Recce, Bren Group, Rifle Leader, and the 6-pounder on the top side. So nice job by that Brummbär, just providing that pressure, getting those important kills. S307 Pak took out the Churchill 5, which paid itself off. Then we had the Panzer Haubitze slamming these Bren Group. I don't rate Bren Group at all. The health just being way too low there. S307 Pak going to be taking out Honey, Churchill 5. Some of these one-shots from the S307 Paks were pretty crazy, and some of the kills from the Focke-Wulf 190 A8s were crazy as well, with the like shooting down these Spitfires very, very quickly. Pak 43 came in, took out Churchill 6 and killed off the 17-pounder, and that Königsdeiger sealing the deal with the kill onto the Churchill 5. Fantastic stuff. Okay, so that was a really, really nice game, actually. Well played by both players, but YppY is going to be moving on to the third round of the Great Paradox Tourney. And just as a note, sorry about all of the background noise in the recording today. Not really much I could do about it. There's an alarm going off. There's seagulls in the background. Who knows what else is going to happen today. But thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.